So, hello everyone. Myself Jalaj Nagpal and I welcome you all to EduTap. So, recently we all know that SEBI Grade A results were out, and building on the same issue, we have topper with us, that is Mr. Mohit Gupta. So, Mr. Mohit, I welcome you all. Welcome you to EduTap.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
So, Mohit, how's the feeling right now that you have cracked one of the most prestigious exams of the India?
Okay, so I'm very happy that I was preparing for a long time for different examination, and the competition is always so fierce. And even while you're preparing and giving, you never believe that you may it is never a firm belief that okay you might do it. And when I saw my roll number in the PDF, it was a good feeling that I finally did it.
That's really very nice to hear, because you rightly mentioned that there is a very fierce competition which is going right now in the regulatory
Yes.
bodies domain. So, dear students, I just wanted to give a very small introduction regarding Mr. Mohit. He has done his BTech in mechanical engineering from YMCA College in Faridabad, UP, and he is graduated in this year of 2017. And then after, he started giving different exams related to regulatory bodies and UPSC as well. So, directly coming to the point, Mr. Mohit, let's first discuss our strategy regarding the phase one part. So phase one, we all know there are two papers. First is like QRE and GA, and then we have 6 specialized subject in the paper two. So what was your strategy regarding the quant, reasoning, and English part?
Okay, so after post 2020, I started preparing for the banking examinations as well and the regulatory bodies. I gave the RBI Grade B earlier, so I had a very decent base in the quantitative and reasoning aptitude. And I developed I saw the various kinds of questions that are being asked in the examination, the various patterns, and for instance, sitting arrangements and all that. So I started preparing from the test series itself. I did not watch or I started preparing from the test series, and from the test series I used to see that where am I lacking, where is my speed issues. Also with respect to quant, I think my main lacune was in the calculation speeds, because it matters a lot. So for that, I first of all I learned various tricks, how to multiplication, division, and so on, the basic calculation tricks, percentages, and so on. And then I practiced it on an app it is kind of a gaming type app. It gives time travel. So I practiced on that, and I think that helped a lot in the calculation abilities.
And when it comes to QRE, I think engineers are not having that fear.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think
to,
there are certain.
Please continue.
Yeah, there is a certain base. I think there is an advantage for engineers also.
Yeah, that's really very nice to hear again. So QRE is not a big headache when it comes to SEBI Grade A, right?
Yes. Yes.
So some people who are not having good background in QRE, they can even do some basic calculations, basic sums, and they can even practice from mocks directly, right?
Yes, I think one needs to practice on always. We should not be overconfident because we have to clear only the sectional cutoff. So practice is a must, but it is not as much of an headache. It is not so competitive because the minimum cutoff has to be.
Yeah, only 30 marks is required in the paper one, right? So now coming to the GA part, right? There is also a very important component in paper one, which is general awareness. So how did you and how many months did you cover up? And can you please bring me a good picture regarding GA?
Okay, so regarding GA, again, I was always preparing for the UPSC in the background. So there is some GA background. I used to read newspapers like Indian Express, The Hindu. So I was always abreast of the overall developments. But as in banking examination, there is much more focus on facts and very recent happenings. So I refer to the current affair material that is available. And I revised for 2-3 months prior to the phase one. I did it very holistically, but I had a base for before that as well.
Okay, so that's really very nice to see, and I wanted to focus on this particular point, that only a CA of last 2 to 3 months is sufficient for SEBI Grade A exam, right?
Yes.
So we do not have to go max 3 months is enough to go, right?
Yes, I think one should not overburden himself. Some people try to do a much more 6 months, 7 months, but it is not productive at last, because there are so many facts. There is a limit to remembering as well, and you need to be efficient in your preparation.
Yeah, 6 months is required for RBI Grade B and as well as for UPSC
Yes,
prelims
yes,
as well. But beginning on the SEBI Grade A, I think 2 or 3 months is good to go.
yes, it's sufficient.
Okay, so paper one is like you have a basic, you have told me regarding the basic, I would say, strategy of yours. You are having different
Yes,
examination experience as well. So it was not a big headache for you. Okay.
yes,
So
I
now,
was fairly confident.
yeah, that's really very nice to see. And you have to just score 30 marks, which can easily be scored from either from reasoning or GA, or you have to make your own strategy. So now
Yes,
let's come to the paper two part, paper two of phase one. And as per to the best of my knowledge, there are 6 subjects, and you have to prepare the
yes.
6 subjects respectively in the phase one as well as in the phase two. So I hope your strategy was different in these two particular domains. Like for phase one, you just have to have basic knowledge. You need to have basic knowledge, but in phase two, you need to have a deeper knowledge. So what was your difference of strategies between phase one and phase two part first?
Okay, so my background is engineering, so I had no base whatsoever in accountancy, company law, cost and management accounting. Like these were totally alien concepts to me. So I started like my preparation around November. I was like, I knew that the notification is about to come in some time. And my brother, fortunately, he is a company secretary, like he's in his articleship. So he helped me a lot there. And as far as like accounts is concerned, so he referred to me the basic books of plus one and plus two, the NCRTs and the other reference books that are there. And he explained me like the broad, like the debit credit rules and the basic rules of accounting, what is a journal ledger, everything
Okay.
he taught me. Okay,
Okay.
so I used him on that part, but overall, like there are accounting standards and
Yeah.
everything. So I use the ICI material for that.
Okay.
It is available like for free on their platform. So I use that material for accounting standards. Also, there are some sample questions in that. So I built up on that from there,
Okay.
the
So
accounts.
going deep into the 6 subjects of the phase one, first let's talk about finance. Because finance, as
Okay.
you are from engineering background only, how hard it was for you to cover different concepts of finance, starting from time value of money, bonds, primary and secondary market. So how difficult it was, and what was your total strategy? So there are two parts of my question. So I would like to explain. You can take your
Okay.
time and tell me right there.
Yes. Right. So finance has many topics which are included in the economics part of the syllabus of the UPSC Civil Services
Yeah.
examination, like inflation and markets. So you have a broad framework. Like it is not that I was totally unaware of these concepts. So that base helped me a lot. And for that, like in my preparation, I refer to the books that were there only. So they are very deep in that respect. For the specific knowledge that is required, like in the SEBI grade, the very deep nature or the technical knowledge that is required, one thing is that I refer to the NISM booklet,
Okay.
the on the securities market foundation. So the derivatives and what are the different types of products, what is the overall framework of capital market. So I could be like, I knew a little bit about various terms, but I wanted to be very sure of the entire thing. So
Okay.
that helped. And for time value of money and other related concepts, I refer to various notes that were available and various
Okay.
resources that are available on internet as well. So
Okay.
I like did those from there.
So you have a mix of preparation for finance, like you are using your brother's knowledge as well, and then you are using different
Yes.
standard books. So that's really very good to
Yes.
see. So now let's come to the second component, which is regarding management. Again, management is again alien to you because you are from science
Yes.
background. So what was your strategy regarding management?
So for management, again, like I had a background with, because I gave RBI Grade B in the 2020 examination,
Okay.
and it has management subject as well. So I studied like from the organizational behavior book that is mentioned in the
Yeah.
notification as well. So I did those topics from there only, and had like highlighted, annotated, and I had a basic knowledge regarding them. So I just revised that for the SEBI examination. There are some topics which are not there in that book. For
Okay.
those, I refer to Google sources.
So what about different concepts of motivation, communication, journal management? So the same
Yes.
strategy was there, like you studied for RBI and used the experience over here.
Yes, I
Okay.
used that experience. I revised that book. Like it has different chapters, different theories are already there. It's a bit long. I like it can be time taking at first. It was, but I think over the time you kind of
Yeah.
like it becomes easier.
Okay, so that's really very nice to see that how you are using experience from different fields and channelizing
Yes.
that into the SEBI grade A. That's really very nice to see. Now coming to the companies law part of the phase one. So companies law is
Yes.
full with sections, penalties, different rules and regulations. So what was your strategy regarding companies law?
Okay, at first I did a mistake. Like I thought that I have read polity, maybe I can read it from the like
Yeah.
the Bare Act or the directly from the booklet. So I made that mistake first, and but I realized like it is much complex and it is a much time consuming process as well. Like,
Yeah.
even if you can read, it is very difficult to remember
Yeah.
what is useful and what is not, and so on. So then my brother referred to me some sources, and he also explained me various concepts. I remember that I used to have long discussions on various doubts, like what is this, what is that, how is this different. So I think here again, like my brother and his sources, they helped me a lot, like that. And there were various sources, like for instance, some sources are available on YouTube, some are available on Google. So I used those sources mostly to understand like what is the overall framework of the, like what is the important things, what are the various concepts behind the word that is written. So
So do you recommend a total like you have to remember all the facts, or do you have some strategy regarding selective reading or something?
like they ask, like this time also, like they asked much like deeply, like the various facts were asked in the examination. So it is important to know even to the articles. I firstly thought that maybe I shouldn't remember the each and every article, like for each and every act, but I tried to do that, even though I couldn't remember all of them. But the main articles I tried to remember. The provisions, for instance, penalty was also asked this time.
Hmm.
So I tried to remember. And the thing is that if you try to do it in one go, like if in the first go I would have tried to remember everything, it won't happen.
Yeah.
So it takes multiple revisions, 4 and 5 times revision, and you certainly, like, even the facts that seem to be like too bulky,
Hmm.
over the time you kind of remember them.
So just wanted to pick up one very important line that you have revised 4 to 5 times. And that is a big
Yes, I
statement
remember.
to make, right? Because in Companies Act, myself have experienced that it's very big and it's like never ending thing. So you have to revise and revise. So that's really very good to see.
And I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
for revision, notes also matter. So
yeah,
if you have made notes in the first reading, because you have to shorten it somehow, you have to
yeah.
note down the main points, and only then you can revise. It doesn't, like, it makes no sense to revise the
Yeah.
whole text again and again. It will become very difficult. It
So
won't be possible.
here you made digital notes, or you have to go by standard books, or you have to make some, physical notes, which we make in our own style
No,
register.
I'm in a habit of making the digital notes. I followed that
Okay.
only
So
because I can update them and so on. Yes.
that's really very nice to see how technology is also helping you.
Yes.
Now let's come to the costing part. Costing is again a very alien subject. So how did you tackle costing? Because in costing there are different concepts: marginal costing, batch costing, job process costing. So what was your approach regarding costing?
Okay, so costing is alien, like the accounting part of it is very alien, but I think many of these concepts are also part of my engineering syllabus.
Okay.
Because in industrial engineering, and because these are commonly related to like manufacturing organizations and discuss things in that environment, so many of these concepts like lean, Six Sigma, total
Yeah.
maintenance, all of these were there. And even some parts of like standard marginal, these are there, economic order, quantity, inventory levels. These are part of the engineering syllabus, so I had a little base there. And for costing and cost and management accounting, like I directly refer to the ICI booklets, therefore, because I think it can be done. But some portions of it are like very difficult and technical. Standard costing, for instance, has those variances, and variances, like, they look very scary at first
Yeah.
because there are so many formulas and so many nitty-gritties, and it is very hard to remember. So for that, I again refer to resources on YouTube and try to understand what are
So that's really
things.
very good to see that how you are using your experience from different exams. Again, how you are channelizing your experience is really very good to see. Now coming to the second
Thank you.
last part, which is regarding economics. I again make a presumption that you are from UPSC background, so economics must be a cakewalk for you, right?
I won't say that it is a cakewalk. Like,
Okay.
okay, I did much less preparation for economics. I was not much like worried about it. But yes, in phase one, it was like an eye opener that economics here is much more technical. I didn't like ISLM curve. You know to
Yeah.
need to know it deeply. It is not like a surface understanding won't do. And similarly for the consumption function or investment function
Yeah.
multiplier, all of these concepts, they are very technical and they are not part of like UPSC syllabus as such.
Okay. Okay.
So even if they are on the surface, like you have to know very deeply. So I understood that I need to do these much more deeply, but it didn't take much time because I had again the base and I refer to the resources. Like I
Yeah.
refer to the resources available on Google, YouTube, various functions. I just typed the keywords
Mm.
that were there in the syllabus and I saw what is it, and various websites are there where you can
Okay.
find those.
Okay, so that's really again very nice to see that you have made a very good point that you have to study deep over here. It's not like you can just
Yes.
read from the surface. So now let's come to the last component of phase one, which is regarding commerce and accounts. I know it will be a very big headache for you because myself, from being commerce and account and seeing that how engineering students are starting from scratch, it can become some big problem. So what was your strategy regarding commerce and accounts?
Okay, in commerce and accounts again, like I had no base whatsoever. Like
Hmm.
I didn't even know. Like I'll agree that I didn't even know credit debit. I had only seen it in my bank statements only. So I didn't know it at all. So it took time. Like for me, in commerce and account, like I spent most of my initial time in commerce and accounts only. Like
Okay.
I thought that if I don't know the basics here, even if I like study 10 different things at the last, it won't matter. Accounting standards I won't be able to understand only.
Yeah.
So I spent time on the basics like the credit debit, how does it work, the journal and the different accounting books, how do they
So,
work.
so
So
just
yes.
allow me to interrupt that you started everything from the very scratch thing, right? You just mentioned that you
Yes.
started from journal.
Yes.
So
Yes.
from journal you started and then you move up to the final account. So it must be a very, interesting journey for you. So what was your journey
Yes.
like? How did you started from journal and how did you reach to that particular point?
So at first my brother gave me the book like of
Yeah.
the 11th, 12th and the reference books
Yeah.
that are there in 11th, 12th. So at first I was like, okay, it felt to be boring at first. Like if I am very honest, I didn't I was not also able to understand what are the different things, and it felt to be boring. But as I understood, like it is also a scientific record keeping.
Yeah.
Like so, yeah, I understood the logic behind it. As soon as I understood credit, debit, different types of accounts, I think
Hmm.
it became very easy to understand the other things. And as far as accounting standards are concerned, or building up upon that, so that was based, like it is partly law and partly accounting.
Yeah.
So if your logic of accounting treatment is clear, like you understand how you have to treat these things, so you have to just remember what are the various regulations, and they are also very logical.
Hmm.
So it is all about like how you do it. If you try to read the text and you have no logical understanding or conceptual understanding behind it, then it becomes very difficult. But once you gain the conceptual understanding on how things go, how accounting treatment is done, it's very, like I think it becomes easier then.
So that's really very nice to see that you have understood that the main essence of accounting is understanding the science behind it, that why there is a
Yes.
double entry system, that how you have to debit and which account to credit, and then you build
Yes.
up on that, and then you move to the accounting standards parts. So that's
Yes.
really very good to see. So now if I have a quick summary regarding the phase one, that paper one and paper two was doable, right? Or were it tough according to
Oh,
you?
yes, paper one I found like it was easy because I was also very well prepared. So
Yeah.
it was very easy. And the questions were also not of very high level. Like it was quant was moderate,
Hmm.
everything was moderate. In the paper two, it was difficult than last year.
Yeah,
So
difficult,
in
definitely.
the examination hall, I felt the pressure. Okay, this is not a cakewalk.
Yeah.
Like you have to be very well prepared, and I was assuring myself, okay, at least I have done it deeply, so it will help me right now.
Hmm.
So it was not a cakewalk. Cakewalk. There is a time pressure situation as well. If you are not very well aware, for instance, if you have done things on the surface, to recall them, it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
So one has to revise a lot, even in the phase one. It can become tricky.
Yeah, this time SEBI has completely changed its approach as well. If we see the
Yes,
2021 paper and compare it to 2022, in 2021 they have asked from variety of topics like what is the logo of Make in India and so on and so forth.
yes, yes,
But this year they have been very specific to all the 6 subjects. So that's really very
yes,
nice to see that how you have to change your strategy when you are sitting in the examination hall.
yes,
So
yes.
that's really very nice to see. Now let's move to the phase 2 part. So I think we have covered phase 1 in the best holistic manner as possible. Now, when it comes to the phase 2, I say there are two papers again, the paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1 is regarding completely descriptive English. So what was your strategy regarding descriptive English? First comments on that, and then we will move to different components of English like essay, précis, and RC.
Okay, so again, I have an habit of writing. Like because UPSC syllabus, I have written means, and I know I like. I also like writing, and I have a habit of writing. I do wide reading like every day. So for me, that was not such big of a challenge. I only the things that I practiced was like, for instance, pressing. I wanted to be very accurate in that. I wanted to know what are the rules of pressing. So I learned like that. You have to give a heading. You don't have to repeat those words. So I did that, and the format of different things. But as far as like descriptive, it was not a huge challenge for me because I have a background in that, and I have been writing that a lot, like
So
essays and.
you practice different essays, RC or précis, or it was just like going directly on the exam and hitting the ball on the first ball itself?
No, I practice Prezi because Prezi was a bit like Prezi. I think it is a bit tricky. I don't have much practice as well, so I wanted to be like very accurate in that because I didn't want to lose marks there.
Hmm.
So I was very particular that I have to do things right. Like I say, I can do that. I say I've written many times, so I
Okay.
say I didn't. It was not much of a trouble for me, but Prezi I practiced a lot.
And what was your overall word limit? Do you remember that you have to hit the word limit as well, or you can just be slightly below it? What are your comments regarding it?
Yeah, in essay, I think I fulfilled the word limit. I maybe some like 2-3% or 5% above that, above
Oh.
the word limit. So not that. In Prezi, I stick to the word limit. Like maybe I did the exact amount words that were asked. So I was very in Prezi, I did that. So I
Oh.
was able to fulfill. Like it was not a big challenge.
And one more thing which I picked up from your conversation is that you started everything from like scratch also. For example, you started
Yes.
everything in commerce and accounts. Here too, you are
Yes.
having a good experience, let's say, in making notes then you have practiced on your pressy part, which was your weakness. So you have
Yes.
practiced much on that. So that's really very good to see. And one more question from my end is that you have said previously as well that you are making digital notes. So
Yes.
does that particular part helps you in the descriptive English because typing speed, seeing your grammatical mistakes online. So does that part help you?
I think it must like sometimes like people complain that the infrastructure was not good and the
Yeah.
keyboard was bad and everything.
Yeah.
But okay, that may be true sometimes. Like even the interface can be problematic at first, the double keystroke thing and everything.
Yeah.
But I think I have a good typing speed because I make like digital notes. I have a good practice over the keyboard,
Oh.
and that helps. Like you should be comfortable typing because you may be slower on the exam day, and you should not be like you should not give an excuse. Okay, the keyboard was bad, that's why
Mhm.
I got left behind. So you should be always faster than that. That doesn't matter.
So you have to keep all the excuses on the one side of the table and you have to
Yeah.
perform as best as possible. Now, Mohit, again, we have discussed about different components of phase 1, but now the same is repeated into the phase 2 as well. So let's
Yes.
first discuss regarding the paper level first. Paper 2 was very different this time and I myself has given that. So it was very weird, first of all. There were many big questions on commerce and accounts and so on and so forth. So did you attempted many questions on it or what was your strategy and how did you react it to when you see the paper first time, and then we will come to the different components again.
So seeing that the level of phase one already had been increased, like I was hoping that the phase two will also be
Yeah.
difficult. I kind of knew that okay, they may increase the level of this as well.
Yeah.
So even despite that, like it was very challenging.
Yeah.
But what I did before was I was like very particular that I should complete every topic of the syllabus. Like I shouldn't miss anything. I was particular on that. Like even if one topic is remaining, even if I'm saying that okay, I know this already, but I did it again. Like I wanted to be very particular. That one thing was there. I focused on numericals a lot.
Okay.
Like I did complex one as well as the simple ones. So there were some thankfully there were videos of EduTap as well, like before phase 2, where sir used to do various questions, and those video I used to do those and see practice myself. So you need to be familiar with the numericals, even if they are, some of them may be complex and may not come in phase 2, but you need to be well aware, so that there you do not take much time in forming the logic, like what is to be done. That is because you don't have much time. If there are 5 numericals, 6 numericals, you have to be very particular, like you have to have a practice of that. So that was one thing, so I did that. So that was there. Also the questions were longer, no doubt.
Yeah.
It was very difficult. The time constraint mattered a lot. But I think if you have revised a lot of times, you know that you see the question, and once you understand the question, you read it, and that answer should click immediately. Like if you are
Yeah.
thinking over there, then there is no time, you will not be able to complete the paper. So that was the thing. Phase 2 was definitely difficult.
So Mohit, what will you recommend? For example, if there are 6 numericals in the paper 2, so what was your recommendation, that you have to attempt all 6, or you have to just leave it to the God, or let's say कि जितना हो जाए ठीक है? So what will be
No,
your
I
take
think
on it?
you should always aim to do all of them. But
Okay.
my thing was, you have to keep an eye on the clock. Like you can't be stuck on a numerical. So if you are getting stuck or you are not getting it immediately, so skip it for once. Let's complete the paper, go till the 50th question, and then reattempt. So I did that for 2 or 3 numericals
Okay.
in the last 5 minutes. Like I already knew what was there, and I tried that, and I got the answer. So that was there. You should not blind guess in these for sure,
Yeah.
but okay, if you are getting stuck and you are not realizing it immediately, you should skip it for that time being and do the other easier questions. Like for instance, company law questions were
For
very, I
very
think
easy,
they were
yes.
doable.
Yes.
They were doable if you read it, and you can do it. It doesn't take much time also, so you can save up that time there. And if in the end you have time, so you should be able to attempt them.
So according to you, first you have to skim through all the paper, and then you have to come back and see that is this question doable or not, right?
No, yes, you have to attempt. If you can, if you see the answer is right there and you know it, just
Yeah.
mark it. And if some question is troubling you, you are getting confused, mark for review, or like
Okay.
skip it
Okay.
for them now and then reattempt
So
it later.
that's a very, very, very good strategy which I'm listening to. So now let's more discuss about again finance, because finance this time was pretty much, I would say, on a moderate level as compared to the other subjects which were there in this. So what was your strategy different from phase 1, or what different did you do in the phase 2 of finance?
Okay, so my sources were similar only.
Yeah.
Like I refer to the same sources. I just revised them again. Some videos, like for instance the streams of sir, where he used to discuss questions, like EduTap streams
Yeah.
of the different questions. So sometimes you realize, okay, I haven't done this was not in my material, so I did those things
Okay.
as well to be double sure. For instance, the margin requirement question last year, it
Yeah.
was not in my material, so I did that. So there were some gaps that were remaining. I tried to complete that. I wanted to be like double sure of everything that I have completed.
Yeah. So it was really very heartening to see that how EduTap has helped you in fulfilling different
Yes.
gaps. So now let's come to the management part. Again, management was also very weird. There was a question still I remember that was regarding the role of manager. And in standard books or different content of EduTap, we have just discussed about Henry Mitzberg role, which we have 10 different roles. So, but that particular question was not from that particular Henry Mitzberg role. So how did you tackle management, and what was your total approach towards management?
So I basically referred to that book only, and I revised those concepts. Otherwise, Google also. In management paper, I have seen that language plays a
Yeah,
huge role.
very
Like
important role.
in the question, they may ask the like it very in a very tricky sense.
Hmm.
But I think one needs to see past that. What is the basic thing that is asked? And one need not panic if some different words are being used or it feels a bit alien. You have to just follow the logic. Like it is logical on how things go. The concepts are also logical.
Hmm.
So you have to see past those the language and the trickery that is there. So I think if one has the concepts with him, one can navigate that.
So again, your preparation was based on concepts and revision. So that's really very nice to see.
Yes.
And I'm repeating these points again because those people who will be appearing for SEBI, they have to make sure that concepts and revision are the foremost weapons which you have to use. Now, coming to
Yes.
companies law, this year companies law was very straight, direct, and it was comparatively the most easiest section when it compared to the other 5 sections. So companies law, I think you must have revised it again and again, or was it something
Yes.
different this time?
No, I revised it again and again, and especially on the last and the second last day, I made sure that I revise it again, because company law is
Okay.
something that you have to be very fresh about.
Yeah.
Like in the articles, you forget if like you revise it 1 week before or so. So I just revised it just before going as well. Like
Okay. So Mohit, I was also talking to one of the previous toppers of SEBI. He advocated this particular point that he saved much of the time in doing companies law question, because if you know it, you just have to mark the answer in 30 seconds. You can do that and you can move to that to another question.
yes,
So do you follow the same strategy and you can invest that extra time into the commerce and accounts question?
yes, of course. Like you have to save time here. You can't think in company law questions if it is
Yeah.
direct. Wherever there are direct questions, you have to do them very fast. You should not think twice so as to do those questions which are time taking.
So this is the overall approach regarding time management that
Yes,
you have to follow in the phase two paper. Okay,
yes.
so that's really very good to see. Now coming to the costing part again. Costing was also, I would say, a type of weird paper only because many different concepts were covered and some were like totally alien to people who were from commerce background as well. So what was your approach and how did you tackle costing in the phase two?
Okay, so in costing, again, I took cue from phase one. I saw what type of questions they were asking and what were the gaps in my knowledge. So, for instance, like the prime cost and the different types of cost, the keywords that were there, I was not like I was focusing so much on the concept of it. So, as to attempt numerical, said I didn't do these in the phase one. So, I did like I made sure that I do those in the phase two, the basic concept, the introduction to cost and management, different types of costs that are there and the different keywords. So I did that for once. And secondly, I focused on numerical part of it, the like I revised the conceptual part of it, and I also tried to focus on the variances. In the last moment, I revised those formulas and how to do that.
Okay, okay. So now let's come to the economics. Again, economics was, as you have just told in the previous part as well, that it was not that much easy. You have to understand the core concept. So do you have any strategy that how students should go deep into the economics and how they should revise as much as possible?
Okay, so one needs to take the keywords from the syllabus. So they have clearly mentioned, like if they are going to ask the ISLM curve,
Yeah.
so do not just read it on Investopedia. Like it will make no sense if you just read an article about it that this is there, this is there. You have to understand what it means, what it represents, what is its use. So they asked the question like that only. Like if you
Yeah.
knew, even I knew, like in the phase one I couldn't attempt that question. I knew like where what is the graph between, but I like didn't know the
Okay.
use of it, and I couldn't attempt it. So I realized that. So like the classical and Keynesian model, the consumption function, investment function, and the supply function, all of these. So you have to do those deeply technically, as economics, like it is not general, it is very technical in that level. So you have to, like I did that.
And now let's discuss about commerce and accounts. This CA paper was too much. It gave bad dreams to some students who were not selected for interview. So I have sympathy for them. But how did you tackle commerce and accounts, specifically the big questions which were there? Like you have told me that you skim through paper once and then you come back again. But still, it needs a big, I would courage to attempt these questions, because if you do not get the right answer, then your time is also getting wasted. So what will be your
Yes.
piece of advice for the students for commerce and accounts?
Okay, so they were lengthy. The questions were lengthy. It is true, they were like difficult as well. But I think you have to do exceptionally well in the other parts of the
Yeah.
examination. I had to skip some of the questions in commerce
Okay.
for sure. Like I couldn't in the time travel, it hit me. But okay, whatever you can do, like you have to maximize there. You have to be thorough with the concept. So whatever easy questions are there, even if the question may be lengthy, sometimes the concept behind it is very simple.
Okay. Okay.
So you have to be able to attempt those. But yes, if there are much difficult questions, it becomes like it becomes tricky, and only practice can help, I guess. Like if you are very thorough with the concepts and you can recall like immediately, you have good calculation and logic, then I think it is doable. And you have to do like most of the questions you have to like one should go with the aim like of doing all, but okay, in the examination you have to maximize your efficiency.
Okay, so very well point said that you have to balance your approach. If one component is coming tough, then other five are doable in nature. Or it can
Yes.
happen that you have to balance out, and then you also have to clear the cutoff only. Then you have to perform well in
Yes.
interview, and then you can be in the final list, like Mr. Mohit is
Yes.
there. So now let's come to the last part of the overall preparation, which is regarding interview. So what was your first? I would like to know your feelings when you got selected in the interview, because you have different experiences as well. So how was it when you got to know that you are selected into the interview part?
Okay, so when I gave phase two, like I was fairly confident, okay,
Okay.
and that I have done well. But you never know. Like
Hmm.
it is such a competitive examination, so let's see. It's like you never know. And I was like, I remember that I did a fist bump and I saw I was very happy that I got selected, because
Okay.
it was such an alien paper for me. The whole
Yeah,
process was
definitely.
such a thing, and I definitely like I took a leap of faith, and
Mhm.
it was something maybe I believed in myself or not. It is easier to say that I believed in myself right now, but okay. So it was a big achievement for me even to reach till the interview, and I was sorry, I've got
Yeah, no
yeah.
issues, no issues.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, please.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I realized that the interview is very crucial. Like even though some may rationalize, okay, 15 marks are only there, phase two
Hmm.
matters a lot, but it's still, it matters a lot. And I had an experience of giving interviews in the past, and I don't think like I have always had a bad feeling with these
Yeah.
interviews. Like I didn't never came out like very satisfied with my interviews before. So I wanted to give my all, whatever my deficiencies were.
Hmm.
And I realized I had a non I knew that like what mistakes I do in the interview. So I tried to improve on that. So I took a mock interview with
Hmm.
EduTap as well.
Yeah.
So I practiced
So I can
that.
see that how EduTap has helped you to fill the gaps in interview as well. So basically,
Yes.
again, I want to like to summarize that you have used your experience in the previous examination and then you channelize that into your SEBI preparation.
Yes.
So now let's come to the core interview preparation. So what was your interview preparation all about? Like what sources, how
Yes.
did you, like there is a complete run up for interview. You have to hold your nerves before the interview date. So what was your overall preparation? And then we will come to the main interview part.
Okay, so the first thing that I realized from my past experiences as well, that one has to be conceptually very strong during interview.
Hmm.
Like even though it, like I read the transcripts and most of them were HR questions and so on, but I wanted to be like if they asked me technical questions regarding the capital markets and all, I wanted to be very like I was confident about answering those. So I read the NISM booklet like first page to last page again,
Hmm.
and I was very like I remembered the preamble of the SEBI,
Okay.
the like the definitions, not like the exact definitions I remember, but I was very conceptually clear of what depository is or what
Hmm.
custodian is or what is the structure of a mutual fund. So if these questions were asked to me, like I would be very clear and precise and technical in my language. I wanted to be sure of that. Uh, so on the technical part, I did like that. Secondly, HR was an issue for
Yes.
me because like it is not in my nature to boast much of myself. So I have always found that. But okay, I wrote the basic HR questions, the strengths, weakness, and strengths, weak. Introduce myself.
Hmm.
So I wrote those like in a note, and I tried to write my answer, like what would I say about my strengths, about my weaknesses, and all of
Okay.
that, and to justify them with something that I have experienced or something that I have done in my life, to justify that with that. So I wanted to have so if there were any counter questions, I could answer that.
Hmm.
Also a huge question that I knew would be asked, and it was asked in the interview as well, was I graduated in 2017, so I had a gap year. I
Yeah.
did not work in between, and I had no other explanation. I had to say that I was preparing for UPSC,
Yeah.
and as many aspirants, other aspirants also were. So I wanted to justify like why SEBI,
Mhm.
and what will SEBI benefit if they hire me? These types of
Okay.
questions. So I wanted to prepare for that.
So that's really
So
very nice to see that you have prepared some list of questions, probable list of questions, which you think that interview panel can ask to you. And then you can prepare
yes,
those questions again and again. So that's really very nice to see. Now coming to the main interview. So I think that would have given a huge nerves to you on that interview date. So what were the different questions? Can you please describe that? How was your overall interview experience was?
okay. First of all, before the interview, I like to stay calm. I don't like to think much about. If you are allowed to use mobile, I usually just keep scrolling on my mobile, not to think about what will happen when
Okay.
I go inside. So I
Yeah.
do not prepare on the day of the interview. I try to stay calm. And before the interview, I try to make sure that everything is fine, like with my dressing and everything.
Yeah.
The collar is right, the tie is right, everything should be right. So I make
So
sure of
every
that.
box has to be ticked. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
Okay.
yes, please continue.
So uh, also one thing I tried to do was to smile. Like when
Hmm.
you enter the interview hall, I'd like to I smiled and sit down and greeted all the members. So these are the basic formalities that I learned, and like I wanted to, I did that. As for the interview, like my first question again, it was like I was grilled for about UPSC and why SEBI. You are not from, like I was not from finance background. Why should we hire you? I answered
Okay.
these questions, and then I was asked like which department would you like to work in and why. So these
Okay.
types of questions. So most half of the interview went like this. The third member also asked like what was your motivation behind UPSC, why did you prepare for so long there, and what will it benefit to the SEBI. So my half of the interview went on this topic only, and I was
Okay.
prepared regarding that I would be asked these. So this were the HR questions, like what strengths and weaknesses were also asked in there. The last member, he asked me technical questions on inflation, because
Okay.
inflation is a current topic.
Topic.
And so he asked me like why is inflation like so
Hmm.
high right now, what is RBI doing about it, what is government doing about it, what are the international things, like can RBI do something, like is it in the hands of RBI, or is it like these types of questions, like very conceptual he
Okay.
wanted to. So
So
last 5 to 6 minutes we
yeah.
discussed that.
Okay. So it was less technical and more of HR oriented, right?
Yes,
So, and you
yes.
have prepared all the HR questions very much in the detail. So you must not have that much, I would say, fear as well to answer them because you have prepared them. So that's really very nice to see. So Mr. Mohit, thank you for sharing all of your strategy, and we wish you all the best for your future as well.
Thank you,
So
sir.
in just last few minutes, I would like to take your some time towards some rapid actions question. Like I will be asking some questions to you. So you
Okay.
just have to mention your answer in a very fast and forward manner. So because we have
Okay.
carried our, interview from the scratch as well, like we have discussed about different concepts. Now let's make this
Okay.
particular interview bit interactive. So first of all, was paper two tough or moderate or phase two?
It was tough.
Tough. Okay. And what was your favorite component in the whole SEBI preparation?
I think accounts.
Accounts.
Accounts. Yes, because it was totally alien and I enjoyed. Like it was a
Yeah.
good feeling when I knew I can do it.
Yeah. So that's really very nice to see that how a science student is developing a love for accounts.
Yes.
And what was the most what was the most fearsome, I would say, what was the most I would say, let me find the right word, like fear stage for you? Was it the interview phase two or phase one?
It was always the interview. I think interviews are more
Yeah.
subjective and you don't
Okay.
know what happens.
And my last question to you is that who is your favorite teacher in the EduTap?
Okay, Anchit sir, I
Yeah,
think
Ansis sir is
and
world famous
he's,
for finance. So and
yes.
so I think we have covered on variety of different topics. So just I wanted to take your last comments for those students who will be appearing for SEBI right now in 2023 or 2024, when does the notification comes? So what will be a piece of advice for them? And can you share your thoughts for the future generation?
Okay, so the thing is that you have to take things step by step. It depends on your background. Like you should not blindly follow my strategy, because my experience,
Yeah.
my background is a lot different. So you have to see what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. You have to prepare accordingly. You should not wait for the notification per se. If you think that the notification is about to come, and especially if you are not from the commerce background, you need to be and you need to understand these concepts beforehand if you are targeting for the SEBI examination. So
Okay.
that is also on the motivation aspect. I think you have to believe in yourself, and you have to do this stage by stage. Like you have to think about phase 1 and then phase 2, and let's see what happens. Like you may, like, if the competition is fierce, you should never forget that you should not attach your words to the examination, but okay, it's doable, and you have to give your best, and you should take it stage by stage.
That's really very nice to see that how you have summarized your preparation. So thank you, Mr. Mohit, and from the entire
Okay.
team of EduTap, we congratulate you and we hope that you will
Thank
be
you
a
so
great
much.
officer in SEBI. So
Thank
on
you so
that
much, sir.
note, thank you. And on that note, I will be ending this interview.